All right, everyone, welcome back to another video. We've got a new track on iRacing. They have released the Portland International Raceway, which is a pretty popular track out west, I would say. I believe NASCAR races there. I'm a huge open wheel guy, so I know IndyCar races there. They've had some bangers take place there over the past few years. I can remember cars flipping off of the start at turn 1, and also Scott Dixon being forced into the wall last year, I think, right towards the end of the season. So that's just a couple to note. So we'll give it a try in the Indy cars here, and I'll just walk you through my thoughts on the track, whether or not I think it's worth it, and the whole new iRacing update as a whole. And we'll kind of talk about the race a little bit. We did 2 races today, so we've got plenty of action to go over here at the start, as we've already got cars making contact on the pit wall. But the track itself is pretty simple. A little bit of a lockup in there. There was actually some netcode. That was quite the crazy start. We'll take a look at that after the race and see what happened there. I'm abusing the first chicane, I will say. That is one very notorious thing about this track that a lot of drivers use to their advantage, is the chicane. You can literally just drive straight through it. Of course, you get a 5-second slowdown or whatever it is, but honestly, I find that if you are starting on the outside of T1, I just drive through the chicane. I don't even try to take the chicane at the start. I did probably 5 or 6 of these races, and there was an accident into T1 every single time. And so, for me, I find it safe to drive through the chicane and not actually take it on the first lap. I think iRacing should probably look into that, because that's a little bit broken. I know in Monza and obviously they design these circuits like that in real life for that exact reason, but I don't know, something about it just feels a little strange. Maybe the slowdown should be almost a little bit more harsh, to be honest with you. That's just my personal opinion after doing a couple races here and my initial feeling. But of course, in week 13, you always get lower rated drivers driving, and people just kind of doing whatever they want on track, which means that the racing quality is usually a little bit less. Whereas, if I was just racing regularly in a ranked race, it would probably be a little bit more clean going into T1, and you'd actually have the opportunity to make it through. Anyways, catching up to this car, we're already in P3, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. Whereas I didn't qualify for this race. I started like P11 or P12 or something like that, probably even further back, and I was in P3 off of the start after serving the slowdown because I just drove through the chicane. So that's why I'm saying maybe they should look into that. That just feels a little bit broken. This is the move for the lead of the race. And to be honest with you, nothing else really happened throughout the rest of the race. This was just a cruise to a victory. So I'm going to let it play out, and it's going to cut through some different things. And I'm just going to talk a little bit more about the track and my honest thoughts. I actually really like the track. I think it's really fun to drive, especially in open wheelers. I didn't try it on any GT3s or anything like that, because I honestly have been driving LMU for GT3s and have really not touched them in iRacing at all. The track itself actually looks really, really beautiful. It's really nicely done. The scenery is really green, and this is the new lighting engine that iRacing is on, from my understanding. I believe they released a video about it. I think it's in this Season 2 patch. I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is. And it looks really, really good, but the performance isn't great. I have a very, very strong computer, and it was pretty stuttery, and the frame rate was kind of all over the place on it. Again, this could just be an issue of my own. I don't really know, because I haven't watched that many videos on the track yet. I don't know if other people are finding this to be an issue, but iRacing is always known for having kind of low FPS, to be honest with you. Most tracks aren't the best when it comes to performance, which is just kind of the nature of the sim. That's just the engine it's built on. So that's just one thing I found. We'll take the white flag here. Driving the actual track itself, I would say, feels honestly really good. Like, I didn't really find anything wrong with it, especially the new tech that they're using with 3D curbs and just the way that the road surface is applied to the actual sim. It's been very, very good so far. So I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised with the release of the track, and I honestly think it's worth it. If you're an IndyCar fan and you like Portland, especially if you live out west and you've been here, I'd say it's worth it. Let's take a look at some of the incidents here off the start. This is what happened at the start. Just absolutely speechless about that. I don't even know what to say about this. It just kind of seemed like they missed their braking marker and just launched it over the top of about 3 or 4 cars there. Yeah, definitely. Ideally, it is recommended that you hit the brakes into T1, but this driver has chosen otherwise and paid the price. Unfortunately, he became an airplane, not exactly a race car. So you could argue that the main straight is now a runway. Another car getting launched into the wall off the last corner. Actually quite easy to lose it here. You can see we have a couple drivers go off here because it's off camber. I know it doesn't really look like it from the TV cam, but from inside the actual cockpit, this is an off camber corner and there is no grip on the outside whatsoever. So as soon as you get on that sandy kind of patch on the outside, you just understeer off into the tire barrier. You've seen it, I'm sure, if you watch IndyCar, happen in real life too. This driver just kind of like cut across the track here, opened up his exit way too much, drove into the side of that guy and took himself out of the race. So that means race number 2, because that first one was kind of boring. Let's be honest here. Not really much happened aside from those incidents. From my perspective, nothing really happened. So I decided to give it a go again and see kind of how it would play out. I just wanted to kind of test the track out. You know, that's the whole point of this video. If you guys want to buy this track or you just want to see what it races like, that's why I made this. I just wanted to know what it was like to drive around here. Trying to get some heat in the tires. I'll focus a little bit more on the race in this actual one because I actually got to race some people in this one. I wasn't just leading the whole thing from the start. So it seems actually pretty easy to race on. I think this first and second sector is really difficult to follow people. You know, that was kind of an aggressive lunge, Max Verstappen style, up the inside there. That was really, really ambitious. Luckily, it takes two drivers to make that work, so I was able to get that done. But through this back straight, it doesn't really seem like this is much of a passing opportunity, to be honest with you, because you have these super fast chicanes in this last sector, and you just can't really run wheel to wheel through that last corner there. So it looks like your main overtaking opportunities are going to be into T1 here, if you can make this stick, which is really quite difficult to do, to be honest with you, as we have a massive, massive accident in front of us. Pause what I was saying. We just have to take a look at that again. That's the second time this has happened in this video. Yeah, this is just absolutely ridiculous. It seems like drivers don't really know where their braking markers are, and the main straight has turned into yet another runway. So we might as well argue this as Portland International Airport at this point, because look at this. I mean, there was just zero attempt at getting on the brakes there. You can see my reaction. I am just absolutely appalled by what just happened. I can't even believe what I just saw. So just absolutely insane scenes here at Portland International Airport. I am calling it that from now on. Ideally, you want to use around the 300 meter board because that's what the US tracks use. So if you're looking to know where the braking point is for T1, it's around the 300 point. And most IndyCar tracks are like that. You want to use, you know, the 250, 300, somewhere around there. Okay, this is what I was talking about though. Like, I look for the move to the outside here. It seems like this would be an overtaking opportunity, but you just can't really run side by side through here. It is far too risky. So I decided to back out and see if I can set up another opportunity into T1 or something like that. Just too far away there to get a run, so we're gonna have to wait a lap. You know, this is, again, that first chicane. It's very, very easy to lock up there if you're really trying to push. And so cutting through that chicane, that driver's gonna lose out. And so that's an example of where I think iRacing got it right. You skip the chicane in that part, you get punished for it, right? But in the way that I did it in the first race, where you just completely dodge the start and drive through the chicane like that, they might want to try and figure out a way to prevent that from happening. Maybe like a drive-through penalty or something like that. In the sense, well, that's a little harsh. maybe not a drive-through penalty off of avoiding an accident, but I'm sure you guys understand what I'm trying to say. It just feels a little cheap that I was able to go from P12 to P3 on the first lap by simply just driving through the chicane. So, anyways, much closer now, so this is going to give you a look at what it's like to overtake into T1 if you can actually get it done. So breaking around the 300, getting very, very close to the wall on the outside. But this driver, Jack, very, very good on the brakes. So he was able to outbrake me there And so that's why I'm kind of saying it's a little difficult to get that done. So you're really going to have to be precise with your overtakes around this track. It is quite difficult. I'm going to let this roll for a while here because what a cracking battle this was. This was just 4 drivers really scrapping here for a while. Awesome to watch. And so this track can provide good racing, and we have seen that in real life as well. There's been some great races here at Portland. And so we're setting up ourselves for the overtaking opportunity into T1 again. So we're going to get a big old snake on the main straight here. Drivers weaving. I'm going to hold the inside line for some reason. I don't know why I did this, but braking very, very late here. So like I said, around the 250 and just trying to calculate a move, but we get a little bit of contact. Going to have to avoid that. And that is what turn 1 is known for at Portland. It is such a narrow entry into such a wide exit, so drivers feel like they can overtake, but they kind of just throw their nose into space that isn't there. So you can see it from my halo perspective here. You know, it kind of looks like he drops it. It kind of looks like a little bit of netcode. That one's a little tough. You know, you'd have to watch that back a few times to get a decision on that one. I'm personally going to call a racing incident. I felt like that was 2 drivers just fighting for one spot, and it was just really, really, really tight, and they couldn't make it work. Now trying to catch up to Jack in front of us. He was really, really quick, really pushing, and I felt like we had good pace and we could overtake him, but this is where it's so easy to lose the car on this track. Just getting out on the grass on the outside, a little bit of a wiggle, and impossible to save. And that, my friends, is going to put him in the wall and out of the race. So that's going to give us a position. I think we're up to P4 or P3 now. I think we're hunting down P3 on this lap. So I'll walk you through a lap. I've been using the 250 as my braking point. You want to get all the way to the wall on the right. You see that in real life. They get very, very close to that guardrail on the right. Holding the left line here on the outside down to 3rd gear and just trying to keep it tight for a double apex. And then I'm going to short shift down to 2nd gear so we get a little bit of engine braking. Now this is where I don't know if it's better for 2nd or 1st gear. I haven't driven the track enough to know. I was using 1st. I feel like you could get away with 2nd and pushing it out wide. Getting on the throttle very early here for this corner and then using literally all the curbs here. Just absolutely running over them. You can like almost jump over that 2nd curb. Hug the wall. Look for just past the 100 here. That's kind of your turning point. And then down to 4th gear. Down to 2nd for this final corner, a little dab of the brakes to get the nose to turn, and that should complete a lap of Portland, of course, pushing all the way out to the left wall. So pretty good track. It flows very nicely. I find it very fun to drive, even though it's flat. A little bit of a lockup from P3 there. He's going to go off, which is going to give us that position, and that, my friends, is going to put us on the podium for this race on the white flag lap. And that's pretty much going to do it as we wrap up through the final sector here. So that is what it's like to race at Portland. That's what the track is like. If you're an IndyCar fan, I highly recommend it. I'm assuming they're going to be using this quite a lot. And yeah, I really don't have much other thoughts about it. It's a pretty straightforward track. I think it's worth the $12 or whatever I paid for it. Of course, that is with the iRacing members discount that I have. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, all that. I encourage you actually to leave a like as it really helps out the channel and pushes it out to more people. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll wait for the next season to start before I start uploading ranked races again. But maybe I'll find some other stuff to do in the meantime. But that's it. Have a good one.